Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ice Cold Takes podcast. I'm your host, Joey DeMaglio. And with the season just getting underway, I thought it would be a great idea to have a familiar face on the show. Bill Pidto is here today to talk a bit about his career, the popular MSG 150, and the start to the season for the Rangers. Bill, it's so great to have you on. Thanks so much for joining me. How are you?
I'm great, Joe. Great to be with you. Thanks for having me on. So ice cold takes means you're wrong all the time. Is that what that means?
No, so actually, ice cold takes are right. The definition of it is it's a statement that is so solid, similar to a block of ice.
Oh, okay. I got
Right?
I got
Yeah.
you.
So we like to say on our show, like, let's say, I think Keandre Miller is gonna be an all-star this year. That's an ice cold take. We would say that's the ice cold take of the day, or if it's for the show, ice cold take of the week. So, uh, you should probably do that during the MSG 150 because I know you love those phrases.
Well, I always thought that would be a hot take, but if that's an ice cold take because it's blocked in a block of ice, that take that to the bank.
Take it to the bank,
Take it
exactly,
to the bank.
right. Just like we think Panarin's gonna score 100 points this year.
Yeah, that'll be great. That'll be
Yeah.
great. Off to a great start.
Yeah,
Little
he's off.
so far so good.
Mhm. Tough loss last night, but I wanted to ask you, so you worked at ESPN starting in the '90s, right?
Yeah, I was an original hire on ESPN2 in 1993. And from that point on, I did just about everything until I left in 2008.
Okay. So were you always like a hockey fan, or was just sports in general your primary interest?
So on ESPN in 1995, right after the Rangers won the Cup in '94 and the unfortunate lockout, because the sport had a lot of momentum after the Rangers won that '94 Cup, we did a show on ESPN2 called NHL Tonight. It was a half-hour hockey show, the first national highlight show ever on national TV. I was on there with Barry Melrose 5 nights a week. And at the beginning of hosting that show, I had no idea what in the world I was doing. Now, you might say I don't have any idea what I'm doing now, but I really had no idea what I was in 1995. So I really hadn't had much exposure in terms of hockey, the names, especially the names. I mean, I don't know if you guys have been watching, but this Arbor Jack guy on Montreal spells his name XHE. I can't even KAJ or something like that. So when you come into this, it's like, I mean, Johansson, you know, Dadnov, talking about present day stuff. So imagine when you have no background, like I had no background in '95, and it's like, oh my goodness. But you know what? It's a great sport in terms of the highlights and the clips and the fun. So when I first started, I didn't know a lot. Now I know enough to feel comfortable, and I really enjoy the studio talking about hockey. That's for sure.
So this is gonna show off like my lack of knowledge of Barry Melrose, but was his hair always the mullet?
Yeah, and yeah. It was a mullet. He was the Kings coach when they made the Cup final with Wayne Gretzky. And after that, he has had a great career, obviously in broadcasting. Had a brief coach at Tampa Bay, but yeah, he's always had the mullet. That's one of his trademarks, and he's had a really great on-air career. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's been in with ESPN forever. I remember watching when I first got into hockey, and I would tune into ESPN. Whenever they talk about hockey, it was always Barry Melrose that was there to talk
Right.
about it. He's their leading expert.
So you weren't even born when this show was on. You would have loved it. It was a half hour every single night.
Yep, I grew up watching NHL on the fly on NHL Network with Kevin Weeks and whoever the host was at the
Okay.
time. McLennan was on there every now and then. Uh, I think Reeder was on there. Yeah, Reeder was on there.
Read. Yep.
Yeah, so I that's what I used to do before school. Like I would catch up on all the highlights of the hockey games that I didn't watch because I would only watch the Rangers. That's something I want to get into again this year. Um, but I wanted to ask you so about the MSG 150s. How did those begin? Was that your idea?
No, so the management years ago said, hey, you know what? The intermissions, the halftime, we need to do something to try to liven it up because, particularly in hockey, when you have, for TV purposes, it's 3 segments. An interview and then 2 studio segments can get kind of slow sometimes. So in the middle of that, I come on with the 150, and it was a great idea because 2.5 minutes is exactly the time between commercials. And the real genius is our producer, Jeff Ostella, who comes up with these clips. In 2.5 minutes, you could necessarily not be entertaining, but he always comes up with these incredible things that make it fun. And we have a great teamwork situation. He does a lot of the finding of the clips and the creativity, and I do a lot of the writing. And it's just worked out. It's been so much fun. It's been I'm so glad people like it, and we just have fun with things, and that's what makes it so enjoyable.
Yeah, so I was gonna say it's probably like a like a teammate kind of thing between you guys because he comes up with the clips and you inject your language, the vernacular, all the phrases and words that Rangers Twitter wants you to say on there. Any phrase in particular that stands out to you that
You
you
know,
like?
I always try to. I haven't done it so far this year that much, but I always try to get some, what shall we say, modern lingo in there. And last year, when I said "no cap, no kizzy" on Twitter just melted down.
Uh-huh.
I have
That's
two daughters,
great.
young 20s, and my younger one in particular says "no cap" a lot. Uh, and then "no kizzy." I don't know where I got that one from. But when I said, it was like an incredible goal, and I said on somebody scored an incredible goal, and "no cap, no kizzy." I mean, Twitter just melted down. So that definitely, I would say, has been the one of the highlights for Rangers interaction. Sure.
I was particularly fond of, folded him over like a calzone. I think it was like a hit on a defenseman, that was great. That's a
Did I?
shout out
I
to
did
calzone.
did I say that one? Maybe I did.
Yeah, that one was last year. That
Oh,
was a really good one. I love that one.
oh, good.
I thought that was funny, but I mean, Rangers fans love you. That they love the MSG 150s. They always try and interact with you, and you try and do the same thing. I wanted to bring up at the end of preseason last year, a bunch of us had like a Twitter space going, and you ended up joining for a brief moment. And I was in that space listening. I wasn't like one of the speakers or anything. I was just listening. And that's something I'll never forget. Like, it brings me so much joy whenever someone like you or Kevin Weeks, like, just gives even 15 minutes of their time to someone like me that's like a fan that's maybe transitioning into something more. But just see that joy brought out in like other people, like other fans of the Rangers is like really heartwarming. So what does that mean for you that people love you so much? Like that
Well,
must be
it's really nice of you to say. One thing that Twitter allows and social media allows us to interact with the people that like us and watch. Otherwise, it's just kind of a wall. So it's great to get some interaction where you can without fans, what do we have? We don't have a team. We don't have much interest in a team. We don't have the passion for the content. So I just think that's one of the great things as we've evolved here with social media. When I first started ESPN in 1993, there wasn't any of this. We were like the only game in town. You had to watch ESPN to find out who won the games. Think about that. There was no internet then. There was no all of these networks. Many didn't exist. There wasn't Twitter. It's just the whole thing has evolved, and it's great to be able to interact with those that are fans. That's what's great.
Mhm. Yeah, and yeah, it's good that you're saying that. Like we all love you and stuff. Like that was just yeah. We love that you try and interact with the fans. That's so cool. Like Valquette does it too. I love that John and Henrik asked the questions before the game, and I told you before we started recording that like I got featured on there, and that feeling for just any old fan is just it means a lot to us just to feel like that. And also with like COVID and stuff, if we didn't have social media, how bad would that have been?
That's a really good point. And I know that Henrik, to your point about Zuccarello, had like a really funny response, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah. He said I forget his name, but I'll just call him number 36.
Right,
I don't know the guy's name, but
right.
number 36. He's
That
really good.
that was really that was really good.
Yeah, Zuccarello was my favorite player. After Callahan got traded, and he did so much for the Rangers. And when he left, it was sad for me, but I understood the decision. But yeah, just to see him have so much success with the Wild is good for me. Like I enjoy that. I hope he wins a cup one day.
Tell you what, he's a heck of a career.
Oh yeah,
Just amazing how some of these guys maybe start like Haglin's turned out to have a really solid career. It's really interesting when you just never know how things are going to work out.
right. Like the undrafted players, like
Yeah,
Dan Girardi.
right, right.
Yeah, so Zuccarello gives me like Marty St. Louis vibes because he was about the same size as St. Louis. He was undrafted, or yet St. Louis was told no so many times, and look at he went and he's a Hall of Famer now, St. Louis, and now he's coaching the Canadians. He's another player that he's another person that I wish like all the success to. Him coaching Montreal is awesome. I think it's such a good fit for him over there. And then now Zuccarello with Kaprizov is just a great story, I'd say.
It's really interesting. I don't know if you saw the clip last. Hilarious. Jake Allen, Canadians goalie, is taking a little bit of a leave of absence because his wife just gave birth to their third child. And St. Louis said, well, they now have to go from playing man to man to playing zone with 3 kids. It was kind of
That is funny. That's funny. I had some technical difficulties last night, so I wasn't able to catch the intermission reports of the 150s.
come on, Joey, let's go, baby.
I know. Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. Xfinity doesn't carry MSG in my area, so I'm gonna figure it out. I'm going to get MSG on because I can't miss the games. I love them so much. I can't miss the reports because I need all the analysis from you guys, from John, Steve, and Hank. You guys do a great job on there. I wanted to ask, so like based on the analysis, when the games are going on and you guys are off camera, like when Sam and Joe are calling the game, are Steve and Henrik constantly providing commentary and analysis to you or John, or are they just quiet, just just taking in the game?
Okay, so on a home game, our studio's across the street. So at a home
Mhm.
game, I'm in our studio getting the 150 together. John is in the arena between the benches. Steve then will be over in the arena and then come back over to our studio for the third period because he's over in the building at MSG to come on after the periods. And Henrik, when he works, the same. But Steve is always in communication with our content people, our editors, our producer, Paula McHale, because he is always watching for things that he wants to point out. So he has a lot to do with the clips that we show. He's so involved in analytics and he's just brilliant at picking out. See, to me, his brilliance is explaining why things happen. Hockey can be a random thing sometimes, the way things develop, but he is really good at explaining the why. So when he is in our building for all the road games, obviously he's constantly suggesting clips. What was really interesting, COVID, Sam and Joe didn't travel, so they were actually in our studio calling the game. So that's a lot of fun. But I did the 150. Joe would just bust my chops all the time, and it was great to see those guys, from the studio calling the game. So, long story short, I would say that during the home games, not a lot of interaction with the studio group. Road games, everybody pretty much sits together.
I see. Yeah, so there's constant like dialogue going on there, even when you guys are off camera too.
Right. Have a lot of fun, during the commercials and stuff. And you know,
I bet you.
one
I
thing
bet
that's really been
you.
fun getting those guys involved to interact on the 150.
Y Yeah, I always love that, like, when it's a goalie makes a miscue or makes a
Right.
great save,
Right.
Steve and Henrik
Right.
chime in at that time,
And
you
I've been
know?
having a lot of fun with Henrik on Swedish players too.
Yeah, yeah, I've noticed that definitely going back to last year
Yeah.
with the Swedish players, he would chime in for sure on those. What's been, so far to start the season, what do you think of the Rangers?
I think they're really impressive. I mean, they have just such elite talent. And if Lafreniere and Kako can fill out the top two lines, I mean, that's going to be incredible. Spreading out the kid line to help line 1 and line 2 is a huge help because Vetrano was a good fit and Kopp was a good fit, but they just couldn't afford those guys. I think Trocheck for Strome, that's probably going to help them in terms of what happens down the stretch. I think Trocheck can be better in the playoffs, but I think it's really important for the forwards that these young guys solidify themselves as top 6 wingers, and the back end is rock solid. It's going to continue to be rock solid. And of course, you got an all-world goalie, so. Hey, they had a little bit of a rough patch against San Jose in the third period, but they're off to a really solid start. I think it's going to be a great year.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so like it's a small sample size to start the season, 3-1-1. So only 5 games. But one of the areas that needed improvement was even strength scoring. I'm sure Steve will attest to that. But it looks a lot better so far. I mean, last night's game was a bit of an anomaly, according to Coach Gallant. He said, you know, he wasn't sure what happened in the third period. But that aside, they held the Sharks to 21 shots, 21-9 through the first 2 periods. Do you guys in the studio feel the same way, that an improvement, even if it's just slight, so far has been made?
Yeah, the thing that hurt them against San Jose was the power play. I don't know when that power play has been. San Jose's obviously had a terrible start, but their PK is really good. And Gallant made the point post game that the frustration with the team kind of started with the inability to convert on all those power first period. So listen, it's a long season. As Steve jokes with this great start, let's just get to game 81 and start the playoffs. Because I think they're going to be a lock for the playoffs. And then, as we know, anything can happen. So I think it's going to be a really exciting year.
Were you surprised by the Sharks' effort, or did you somewhat expect that with, David Quinn coming back, first time playing his old team? Maybe there's a bit of fire behind him in the locker room, injecting that into his players.
I look at the Sharks roster, and I'm kind of like, it's not as bad as 0-5. Now they were challenged having to start 2 games overseas against Nashville, but they got some good players on that team. I don't know that they're going to be a playoff team, but they're surely better than 0-5.
Yeah, I mean, they do have, they're in a rebuild stage for sure, and Uh, they do have some good players on there. I like Tomas Hertl a lot. I think that was a good thing that they were able to keep him around last year, because he was going to be a free agent in the offseason, and they locked him up to an extension. Him and Meyer, a good 1-2 punch there for the forwards. And then they got some younger guys too like that aren't in the lineup yet, but maybe within the next couple of years they will be, because they draft high. So there's a lot of good players there. So um, I was impressed by their third period. I mean, the Rangers, some people will say, like, it was disappointing with the effort, but like you said, it's a long season, and the losses are inevitable. Bad nights are bound to happen. You can't be perfect every single night. And maybe this is like a learning experience for them, right?
Truba made the point that one of the things they were so dominant early in some of these games that they're maybe trying to get to a full 60 minutes. They've had, they've been huge leads in some of these games and kind of fallen off in the third period. Last night was the first time that a third period hurt them a little bit against Winnipeg, but last night also hurt them a little bit. So I think their goal right now, as Truba was saying, is to play a full 60 minutes.
Okay, yeah, and I think that's great. That's great that they bring that up, that he brings that up, because that's what a lot of fans have been talking about last season. There were stretches where they played really good, but they weren't able to keep that exact same play up for the course of a full game. So far, I've seen it a little bit more this year. Last night, not so much, but that's something I would look forward to as a fan, just the 60-minute effort. One last question for you, because I know we got to keep this short. The reverse retro jerseys came out yesterday. What did you think of those?
Did you see we had them on the 150? See, that got to watch. You missed it.
I know, yeah, yeah.
I
So,
I like, I'm not a huge jersey guy, but they look pretty good. You got the Statue of Liberty on there, right?
yeah, that's the basis of my logo, my design,
Oh,
the
okay.
Statue of Liberty. My friend and I, when we started it, we were both we both loved the Statue of Liberty jerseys and always wanted them to come back. And 2020, 2021 season came and they brought it back. We were so happy. And then this one, it looks great. I think it looks awesome. I love the lighter color blue. I love that the red sleeves are back. I'm interested to see what they do with the pants.
Right. Yeah, it'll be great. If you got some more questions, keep going. I mean, I don't want to cut you short. This has gone really well and somewhat fast. So if you got anything else, I don't want to cut you short.
All right, yeah. I mean, so I was going back to the 150s. Like when like John and Henrik and Steve do like pre post game intermissions. Like, where do you stand? Do you have like just a chair off to the side, like when you're not on camera?
Yeah, so I am upstairs until about 5 minutes left in the period, then I come down. And like I said, for home games, those guys are across the street, so they're not around. But on road games, they are on the set. I come down and make sure I'm ready to go for the second segment. So I'm off to the side of the set when they do the first segment. Then I'm always on in the second segment. After I'm done with that, then I go back upstairs pretty much.
Okay, yeah. So you're only there for a short period of time, and they're able to to fool around too, like with you while you're doing it. That's how they're able because it's close, right? Like
Yeah,
it's in close
right,
proximity.
right. Like they're stage right or whatever. I don't tell them what's coming. I think it's better if they don't know what's coming.
It makes it the reactions more genuine, so that
Right.
it's not
For
not
better or worse. You know what I'm saying? They don't know what's coming.
right. No, I understand that. I think I like that too. I think that's a great idea. But yeah, I've reached the end of all my questions. Thanks so much for joining me, Bill. This is great. I really enjoy having you on the show. Maybe we could do it again sometime.
My pleasure. Great to be on, and I'd love to come on.
All right, Ice Cold Takes fans, take it easy. We'll see you guys next week.